Imagine a world where January is called Commodus and February is Lucius. In 180 AD, Emperor Commodus, son of the revered Marcus Aurelius, ascended to the throne and embarked on a reign marked by bizarre excesses and egotistical whims. Commodus, who fancied himself a gladiator, shocked Roman society by proposing to rename the months of the year after himself. This was no mere whim. It was a bold reflection of his megalomania and hunger for absolute power. How did such a man come to rule one of the greatest empires in history? Stay with us as we delve into the peculiar reign of Commodus and his audacious attempt to rewrite the calendar in his own name. Now let's talk about one of the most bizarre episodes during his reign. His attempt to rename the months of the year after himself. Yes, you heard that right. In a bid to elevate his own status and legacy, Commodus proposed that the months be renamed to honour himself with names like Commodus and Lucius, replacing the traditional ones. This wasn't just a whimsical act, it was a reflection of his inflated ego and desire for absolute power. Commodus, born in 161 AD, was the son of the esteemed Emperor Marcus Aurelius and his wife Faustina. From an early age, Commodus was groomed for power, being declared co-emperor alongside his father in 177 AD. Upon his father's death in 180 AD, Commodus assumed full control of the Roman Empire. This marked a significant shift, as he was the first emperor to inherit the throne without having proven himself through military or political achievements. Commodus's reign began with promise, but his personality soon overshadowed any potential. He was a man of contrasts, charming yet volatile, initially attempting to follow in his father's footsteps before veering into self-indulgence and erratic behaviour. Historians often describe him as narcissistic, with a penchant for gladiatorial combat, which he participated in to the shock of Roman society. His controversial actions, such as declaring himself a living god and demanding that the Senate worship him, contributed to a reputation that oscillated between fascination and disdain. The gladiatorial games were not just a pastime for Commodus, they became a platform for him to showcase his might. He would often dress as Hercules, presenting himself as the incarnation of the demigod, and fought in the arena to solidify his divine status. His obsession with gladiatorial combat and his increasing detachment from the responsibilities of governance further alienated the Roman elite and the general populace. Key events during his reign further illustrate his unusual leadership style. Commodus famously renamed the months of the year in his honour, a move that epitomized his desire for personal glorification. Additionally, his decision to abandon military campaigns in favour of lavish games and spectacles alienated many in the Roman elite. These actions not only tarnished his reputation, but also set the stage for political instability, ultimately leading to his downfall. In a striking display of self-aggrandizement, Emperor Commodus proposed an audacious plan to rename the months of the year after himself. This move was not merely a whimsical act, it was a calculated effort to cement his legacy and elevate his status in the eyes of the Roman people. Commodus believed that by associating the very fabric of time with his name, he could achieve a form of immortality, ensuring that future generations would remember him long after his reign. Commodus aimed to rename the months as follows. January would become Commodus, February would be Lucius, his birth name, March would transform into Aurelius, April would be Pius, May would be Felix, June would be Invictus, July would be Maximus, August would be Hercules, September would be Geminus, October would be Fortunatus, November would be Victor, and December would be Saviour. This list reflects not only his desire for personal glorification, but also his penchant for grandiosity, as he sought to align himself with revered figures and ideals. The reactions to this proposal were mixed. The Senate, already wary of Commodus's erratic behaviour, viewed the renaming as a blatant affront to Roman tradition and dignity. Many senators were outraged, perceiving it as a sign of his delusions of grandeur. The public's response was similarly divided. While some were amused by the absurdity of the proposal, others were alarmed by the implications of such a drastic change. Ultimately, this bizarre episode in Commodus's reign serves as a testament to his tumultuous leadership and growing discontent within the empire. Commodus's proposal to rename the months after himself is a striking reflection of broader themes of power and ego that often characterize leadership throughout history. In the context of the Roman Empire, where emperors wielded immense authority, Commodus's actions epitomize the dangers of unchecked ambition and the desire for personal glorification. His need to immortalize himself through such a grandiose gesture reveals a leader more concerned with his image than the welfare of the state, highlighting the fragile balance between power and responsibility. The implications of Commodus's proposal were profound for Roman society and governance. By attempting to reshape the calendar, he not only challenged long-standing traditions, but also undermined the Senate's authority, which had historically played a crucial role in governance. This act of self-promotion alienated many within the political elite, fostering an environment of dissent and instability. As the emperor prioritized his ego over the empire's needs, it became increasingly clear that his reign was marked by a decline in effective leadership, leading to a deterioration of public trust and civic pride. This event fits into the larger narrative of Roman history as a cautionary tale about the perils of autocratic rule. Commodus's reign is often viewed as a turning point, signalling the decline of the Principate established by Augustus and paving the way for the chaotic period of the 3rd century crisis. His bizarre actions serve as a reminder of how personal ambition can distort governance, ultimately contributing to the unravelling of a once mighty empire. Commodus's audacious proposal to rename the months after himself sparked significant backlash from both the Senate and the general populace. Senators, already wary of his increasingly erratic behaviour, viewed this move as a blatant affront to Roman tradition and dignity. Many saw it as a clear indication of his delusions of grandeur, prompting heated debates within the Senate chambers. The proposal was met with ridicule and disdain, as senators feared that such self-serving actions would undermine their authority and the very fabric of Roman governance. The general populace had mixed reactions. While some citizens found the idea amusing, viewing it as a reflection of Commodus's eccentric personality, many others were alarmed by the implications of such a drastic change. The renaming of the months was perceived as a symbol of the emperor's detachment from the realities of Roman life, further alienating him from the people he ruled. This disconnect contributed to growing discontent among the populace, who were increasingly frustrated with the emperor's focus on personal glory rather than addressing pressing societal issues. The immediate consequences of Commodus's actions were significant. His proposal deepened the rift between him and the Senate, leading to increased political instability. As discontent simmered, it became evident that his reign was spiralling out of control. This episode was a pivotal moment that contributed to Commodus's eventual downfall. By prioritising his ego over the empire's needs, he alienated key political allies and sowed the seeds of dissent that would ultimately culminate in his assassination in 192 AD. The legacy of Commodus is a complex tapestry woven with threads of both fascination and disdain, particularly in light of his infamous attempt to rename the months after himself. History remembers him as one of Rome's most controversial emperors, often characterised by his erratic behaviour, self-indulgence, and a penchant for theatricality. This particular episode, where he sought to immortalise himself through the calendar, epitomises the extremes of his personality and serves as a symbol of his broader failings as a leader. Rather than being remembered for any significant achievements, Commodus is often viewed as a cautionary tale of how personal ambition can distort governance. The impact of Commodus's reign reverberated through subsequent Roman emperors, many of whom were acutely aware of the pitfalls associated with his style of leadership. His erratic rule contributed to a growing skepticism about the effectiveness of autocratic governance, prompting later emperors to adopt more measured approaches to power. The chaos and instability that followed his assassination in 192 AD underscored the fragility of imperial authority and the importance of maintaining a connection with both the Senate and the populace. Commodus's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the fragility of power when leaders prioritise their egos over the needs of their state. His attempt to rename the months after himself is just one of many examples of how personal glorification can distort governance. But what happens when a leader's ambition is channeled into building a nation? Dive into the incredible journey of George Washington, from a plantation boy to the first President of the United States. Click here to watch our in-depth video on George Washington's early years and his transformation into a remarkable leader.